Welcome students. So in today's video we will be learning about types of malware. It is another concept which falls under the category of computer fundamentals. In this video we will be covering malware and its types. This video will be divided into two different parts. Part 1 where we will be discussing just malware, and part 2 where we will be discussing a detail or depth study of malware and the antivirus which can prevent those malwares. Okay, so let's just begin with this video. Coming to the definition of malware, malware usually stands for malicious softwares. The word or term malicious here refers to bad, okay, something bad. Malicious software. So some a software which possess some bad qualities will be termed as malware softwares or malicious softwares. These are basically designed to gain access to computer system, generally for the benefit of some third party. Now what is written here is that there are two parties generally. One is your computer and other is the user or the person who's using that computer. So generally there are two parties. Now when a user can access his or her computer, it is a common operation, but there comes a time sometimes when we can witness a thing where a third person, we are talking about third person, is able to access or accessing your computer. Then this kind of coding, this kind of programming and this kind of accesses give rise to malware. Okay, now then what is written ahead is without the user's permission. What is crucial here is user's permission. Means I don't know whether my computer is being operated by someone else or not, but it is actually being operated in actual. Okay, so this is what this whole definition is all about. Coming to its types and different kind of say parts, we'll be discussing each and every type individually here from now onwards. Even it is written here, malware includes computer viruses, worms, Trojan horses, ransomware, spyware, and some other malicious software. So these are the names of different kinds of malware which we will be covering in this video. And it is important and crucial to for all of us to know that what kind of malware we are dealing with when we are talking about buying some antiviruses, because every antivirus can deal with only a certain number of malwares. So it becomes very crucial for us to know about the kind of malware we are dealing with. Okay, so let's just begin. Starting with virus. Here, virus has its own full form. I don't know how many of you know about it, but it does have a full form which stands for vital information resource under siege. Basically, when we talk about malware, so malware are usually a code, an encrypted code or a set of codes which can harm your computer, which can gain access to your computer without your even permission. So similarly, virus is also a code, a kind of code, a malicious executable code attached to another executable file. A file which we can easily run or execute are known as executable files. Now this, what happens is, this malicious virus gets attached to it, to the executable file, and it operates and it multiplies and it can even cause changes to your files also. Okay, so what it is written here. Virus spreads when an infected file is passed from system to system. Viruses can be harmless or they can modify or delete data. Opening a file can trigger a virus. Once a program virus is active, it will infect other programs on the computer. Okay, so what happens generally is when your computer gets affected by a virus, It generally affects your files and folders on your system. Now these files can get altered, or they can get modified, or they can even get deleted or erased from your computer system thanks to viruses. So this is what virus does to your system basically. Okay, and this is the most least vulnerable form of malware, which usually means that you can detect viruses easily with almost any kind of antiviruses. Okay, then second comes worms. Now worms are also a kind of malware softwares, or malware malicious softwares. These generally replicate themselves on the system, attaching themselves to different files and looking for pathways between computers, such as computer network that share common file storages. Okay. In short, when we talk about worms, worms are also a kind of encrypted code which gets spread through computer networks. It generally means, suppose we take a case of two systems, two different systems. They are connected with a wire, usually a LAN cable or Ethernet cable. So, if a system in that networking is already affected with worms, it gets the worms get transferred to another system via this wire or the network due to which these two computers are connected with each other. Okay, so this is what it is written here. Now worms, what does worms do? They usually slow down the networks. Networks means we can say, suppose I am supposed to transfer a file from system number 1 to system number 2. Now generally what happens is, you can easily, once you transfer like a file from system 1 to system 2, it generally happens within a span of, I guess, 1 to 2 nanoseconds. Okay, but when it comes to worms, if your system is already affected with worms, now this file may take up to 5 minutes for transferring from one system to another system. That is what worms do. Okay, so they usually doesn't change your file, alter your file path locations, or say they usually don't erase your files. They just make your system slow down uh, more than the time taken by the particular software to execute the task. Okay, coming to the next malware, it is Trojan horse. Now, this is one of the most popular and the most significant, or say most active kind of malware which is prevalent nowadays. Trojan horse. Now, what is Trojan horse? Trojan horse is a malware that carries out malicious operations under the appearance of a desired operation, such as playing an online game. As it is written here, we can just study with an example here. Suppose you visit a site, say Gameloft, though it is a site which is more popular and secured, but still we, in a hypothetical situation, we assume there is a site named Gameloft which isn't secure actually. Okay, now what happens is, you visit this site and you try to download a game from this site, or you are actually trying to play a game on cloud internet, or say cloud storage. Then what happens here is, once you start playing this game, or once you start downloading the files of this game, a similar kind of file gets downloaded onto your system, and that file is usually harmful file which contains Trojan horse malwares. Okay, so this is what it is written here. It carries operations under the appearance of an online of a desired operation, such as playing an online game. You will be kept in a delusion that you are actually playing some game, or you are actually downloading some game files. But what happens is, you are in unintentionally you are trying to download that particular malware, which is Trojan horse. And now what it does, how does it impact your system? The question comes, how does Let me write it clearly. How does it impacts your system? Impacts your system. Okay. So what happens with the Trojan horse in your system, on your system? These usually make shortcuts of each and every file available on your systems, be it file or folder or any kind of software. They eventually gets turned into shortcuts. Shortcut, I think you might be understanding. Shortcut means a file which isn't actually in this particular location. Suppose if I say there is a file, there is a shortcut of a file on my desktop screen. Okay, but its actual location isn't on desktop. It might be on your drive, it might be on your library section where you will be finding locations like videos, music or document. Okay, so now what Trojan horse does is it converts your files into a shortcut files. Basically they are wiped out from your system, but an icon representing those files are will be available to you, which you can see, but they will be generally a shortcut of those files. Okay, so this is what Trojan horse can do to your systems. And one thing is more important to understand about Trojan horse malware is that these kind of malware aren't able to say replicate themselves easily, but they are not able, they are strong enough to even get bypass your antiviruses also. Sometimes there are some antivirus which can't even deal with these kind of malwares. Okay, so we have to know about it, that whenever you are playing some online game or you are trying to download some file from internet, a game file or some other file or software file, make sure you are visiting a site which is already secured. Okay, we will be discussing about this also in upcoming videos, where we will be seeing how to identify a file which is a secured one or a non secured one. Okay, so this was all about Trojan horse. Next, coming to another kind of malware, which is ransomware. Okay, now ransomware is, it grabs a computer system or data it contains until the victim makes a payment. Now, what does it mean actually? Okay, here the ransomware is coined out of the term ransom. Ransom means in Hindi we can say firauti. Okay, so what happens here is your system might get logged by some hacker or a third party who might be good in hacking systems, and who might be your say someone who doesn't desire you to do good in life. Okay, so what happens here is a ransomware attack usually happens on big companies or CEOs or rival firms. Sometimes even it is witnessed. So ransom, they usually what they do is they usually hack your system, and then they demand some amount or ransom from you to unlock those systems. Otherwise, they can even blackmail you that once you fail to pay those ransom, they'll be leaking those files and folders or whatever details is on your computer to public platforms. Okay, this might even cause a havoc on those companies on which these kind of attacks are being targeted or done. Okay, so I hope you get the idea what ransomware is all about. Okay, uh, next comes adware. Adwares are generally a these aren't usually harmful malwares. They are created just to benefit some other software distributing companies. Now take an example. Suppose you visit a site and you are able to like once you visited those site, a different kind of ads started popping up on your site which you will be visiting, or you are visiting actually. Okay, so when suppose by default, by mistake, you click on those any of those ads. Once you click on those ads, those at those clicks will redirect you to the Play Store, where those particular applications or softwares automatically gets getting installed on your mobile phones or your systems. So this is what happens is with adware, they redirect you to some platform where from where those softwares get started downloading on your computer system. Okay, now who benefits from it? Some software distributing company, okay, by displaying those ads on your website. This is what adware is all about. Now next comes spyware. Spyware is, as the name suggests, to spy, okay, to secretly gain information or access to the information which you aren't supposed to get access to. Okay, so this is what it is all about. Its purpose is to steal private information from a computer system for a third party. There are many applications nowadays which eventually say steal your information, your personal contacts, your personal pin codes which are saved in your mobile phones. Okay, there are plenty of like these kind of applications. For example, there are some microfinancing applications which generally offer you a short term loans for some specific rate of interest. So what happens is when you install those applications, they get access to your contacts, to your other details which might be on your mobile phones. Not each and everything, but to some extent they do get access to your personal informations. Okay, so spyware, this is what spyware does. Okay, so now last is logic bombs. This is one of the most say hazardous kind of malware which might cause a great amount of damage to your systems. Now what happens is logic bombs are like time bombs. They don't get triggered unless that triggered event happens or the date to which it is set to trigger. Okay, just like time bombs. When we talk about time bombs, a specific time is set on those time bomb when they are activated. Once the time gets over, gets we can see a huge blast. In a similar case, logic bombs are developed. Okay, but this is not the reason why they are known for their hazardous nature. It is the main primary reason here is cybersecurity specialists recently discovered logic bombs that attack and destroy the hardware components in a workstation or server, including the cooling fans. So this is the reason that logic bombs are considered more hazardous or more destructible, because they don't usually target your software. Unlike the other malwares, they target your software as well as hardware. They usually override those fans or say hard disk or your components of the computer, which might eventually get damaged in the long run, and you might even lose your data. So this is what all about malwares. I hope you liked it and you will be learning plenty of other things from these slides. In next part of this video, we'll be covering about the kind of viruses in depth